Have you ever felt that shiver run down your spine, that sudden chill that makes the hairs on your arms stand up, even when you know there's nothing to be afraid of? It's a feeling that creeps in quietly, often when you least expect it, and lingers in the back of your mind. Sometimes it's triggered by something as simple as a date on the calendar, a date that seems to carry a weight all its own. For many people, that date is Friday the 13th. When you spot it on your calendar, do you pause for a moment? Maybe you hesitate before making plans, or you wonder if you should avoid taking risks that day. You're not alone. Millions of people around the world feel a subtle unease when this day approaches. For some, it's a day to be extra cautious, a day when accidents seem more likely, and strange coincidences feel more ominous. There's a collective tension in the air, as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting to see what might go wrong. This fear isn't just a vague feeling, it has a name. Paraskavidikatriophobia. It's a mouthful, but it perfectly captures the anxiety that surrounds this infamous date. Psychologists have studied it, historians have traced its roots, and yet, the fear persists. But where does this fear really come from? Is it something we're born with, or is it a story we've learned to tell ourselves over generations? The answer is more complex than you might think. The origins of Friday the 13th's reputation aren't tied to a single event. Instead, it's a fascinating blend of history, myth, and psychology. Over centuries, stories and beliefs have woven together, creating a tapestry of superstition that's hard to unravel. The number 13 has long been considered unlucky, an outcast among numbers. Buildings skip the 13th floor, dinner parties avoid seating 13 guests, and even elevators sometimes pretend it doesn't exist. But why? And then there's Friday, a day that, in many cultures, has been linked to sorrow, misfortune, and endings. For centuries, people have whispered that Fridays are unlucky, especially for important events or new beginnings. When you combine these two, an unlucky number and an ominous day, you get a perfect storm of superstition. It's no wonder that Friday the 13th has become a symbol of bad luck, a day when people are extra careful and superstitions run wild. In this chapter, we're about to peel back the layers of myth and legend. We'll sift through ancient stories, psychological theories, and cultural traditions to uncover the true origins of this infamous date. What's fact, and what's just a story we've told ourselves for generations? Is Friday the 13th truly cursed, or are we simply caught in the web of an old story, one that's been retold so many times, it feels real? Maybe the real power of this day lies in our own minds, in the stories we choose to believe. So let's find out together what makes us believe in these superstitions, and what makes us afraid of the dark, even when the sun is shining. The answers might surprise you. 13 has always been the odd one out. It's a number that seems to unsettle, to stand apart from the rest, as if it never quite belonged. For centuries, people have looked at 13 with suspicion, whispering about its supposed power to bring misfortune. But why does this number, more than any other, carry such a heavy burden of bad luck? 12 is everywhere. Months, hours, zodiac signs, a symbol of completeness. It's a number that feels whole, balanced, and reassuring. Our world is built around 12s, 12 eggs in a carton, 12 inches in a foot, 12 apostles, 12 days of Christmas. 12 is the foundation, the structure that gives us comfort and order. 13 disrupts that harmony, creating unease. It's the number that tips the scales, the extra guest that throws off the seating plan, the odd piece that doesn't fit. When 13 appears, it feels like a challenge to the natural order, a reminder that perfection is fragile and chaos is always waiting at the edges. In Norse mythology, Loki was the 13th guest at a banquet, bringing chaos and death. The story goes that 12 gods were feasting peacefully in Valhalla, until Loki arrived uninvited. His presence shattered the celebration, leading to tragedy and sorrow. From that moment, the idea of a 13th guest became a warning, a sign that disaster could strike when least expected. Christianity added to the superstition. At the Last Supper, Judas, the betrayer, was the 13th at the table. His betrayal of Jesus became one of the most infamous acts in history, forever linking the number 13 with treachery and loss. The story echoed through the centuries, reinforcing the fear that to be the 13th is to invite disaster. These stories painted 13 as a symbol of betrayal and doom. Over time, the number became a magnet for every tale of misfortune, every whispered warning passed down through generations. 13 was no longer just a number, it was a shadow, lurking in the background of our collective imagination. Over time, the number became a scapegoat for our anxieties. Whenever something went wrong, it was easy to blame the presence of 13. Superstitions grew, rituals were invented to ward off its supposed curse, and entire cultures began to avoid the number wherever possible. It wasn't about logic but the emotional power of myth. Stories have a way of shaping our beliefs, and the tales of 13's misfortune became part of our shared folklore. Around fires and dinner tables, people repeated the warnings, passing them on to children who would grow up wary of the number's shadow. 13 became the crack in the perfect facade of 12. It was the flaw that made people uneasy, the reminder that life is unpredictable and sometimes cruel. Even those who claimed not to believe in superstitions often hesitated when faced with the number, as if some ancient warning still echoed in their minds. The fear stuck, passed down through generations. Parents warned their children, and those children grew up to do the same. The legend of 13 became a thread woven through family stories, a superstition that survived even as the world changed around it. Even today, 13 is avoided in buildings, hotels, and more. Architects and designers skip the 13th floor, airlines leave out row 13, and some people refuse to sit at a table with 13 guests. The superstition is so deeply rooted that it shapes the way we build our world. It's not just a number, it's a symbol of disruption. 13 stands as a reminder of the unknown, the unpredictable, and the power of stories to shape our fears. It's a testament to how myth and memory can influence even the most practical parts of our lives. And it's only half the story. The legend of 13 continues to evolve, a living myth that still haunts our imagination and our everyday choices. Friday, too, has long been a day of bad luck. In Christianity, it's the day of the crucifixion, a day of sorrow and penance. In ancient Rome, executions happened on Fridays. In Britain, it was Hangman's Day. Even the story of Adam and Eve links Friday to humanity's fall. Across cultures, Friday became a day to avoid new ventures. So we have two streams of superstition: 13, the outcast number, and Friday, the day of doom. For centuries, they existed separately, each carrying its own weight, but it was only a matter of time before they merged. When they did, the result was a date with double the dread. Friday the 13th became a symbol of misfortune, and the legend only grew from there. The infamous pairing of Friday and the number 13 as a day of misfortune may have its roots in a chilling episode from the Middle Ages, a day that would echo through history as a symbol of betrayal and doom. On Friday, October 13, 1307, as the sun rose over France, King Philip IV unleashed a secret plan. He ordered the sudden and coordinated arrest of the Knights Templar, a powerful and mysterious order of warrior monks who had grown wealthy and influential across Europe. Hundreds of Templars were seized in a single morning, dragged from their homes and strongholds. Many were thrown into dark, damp dungeons, where they faced brutal interrogations. Under torture, they were forced to confess to crimes they did not commit: heresy, blasphemy, and other shocking accusations. The once revered order was shattered. Its leaders, including the Grand Master Jacques de Molay, were condemned to death. Some were burned at the stake in public squares, their fates sealed by the king's relentless pursuit of power and wealth. News of the betrayal spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through medieval Europe. People whispered in fear and disbelief, unable to comprehend how such a mighty brotherhood could be destroyed overnight by royal decree. From that day forward, the date, Friday the 13th, became forever linked with treachery, sudden downfall, and the unpredictable cruelty of fate. It was marked in calendars and remembered in hushed tones. The story of the Templars' fall lingered in the shadows of history, whispered in monasteries and taverns, written in secret chronicles and passed down through generations. It became a cautionary tale warning that even the most powerful can be brought low by forces beyond their control. The image of fallen knights and shattered swords haunted the collective memory of Europe. The Templars' tragic fate served as a grim reminder that no one, not even the mighty, is safe from the whims of fate, especially on this ominous day. As the years passed, the legend of Friday the 13th grew. It became a day shrouded in superstition when people feared disaster might strike at any moment. Storms, accidents, and misfortune were all blamed on the curse of this fateful date. Over centuries, the story was retold and embellished, anchoring Friday the 13th in the collective imagination as a day to be wary of, a day when the past's darkest betrayals might echo into the present. Around firesides and in bustling taverns, storytellers kept the myth alive. Each retelling added new layers of fear and fascination, ensuring that the legend would never fade. And so, from medieval Europe to the modern world, the shadow of Friday the 13th endures, a day forever marked by blood, betrayal, and the enduring power of superstition. Triskaidekaphobia, the fear of 13, shapes our world in subtle ways. Hotels and buildings skip the 13th floor. Airplanes often have no row 13. Businesses cater to the superstition, not because they believe, but because their customers do. The fear is real enough to change architecture and travel. Why does it persist? Our brains are wired for patterns and confirmation bias. If you expect bad luck on Friday the 13th, you'll notice every mishap. Good things are ignored, bad things become proof of the curse. The belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Anxiety about the date can even cause real accidents. The superstition doesn't just describe bad luck, it can help create it. Our minds build the prison and our beliefs lock the door. The curse is psychological, not supernatural. For years, Friday the 13th was a quiet superstition, until Hollywood changed everything. In 1980, the film Friday the 13th turned the date into a pop culture phenomenon. The movie's killer, Jason Voorhees, became the face of the superstition. With his hockey mask and machete, Jason embodied the day's curse. Sequels cemented the association. Friday the 13th equals terror. The films gave the fear a name, a face, and a story. Every new movie release made the legend stronger. Now, the date is inseparable from Jason's image. Hollywood took a whisper of folklore and turned it into a scream. The superstition became entertainment and a global brand. Friday the 13th would never be the same. The Friday the 13th film spilled into every corner of pop culture. Jason appeared in video games, comics, and endless merchandise. The superstition became interactive, something to play with, not just fear. Social media keeps the legend alive, with memes and jokes every time the date rolls around. It's a global ritual, a day for mock terror and shared stories. But the fear isn't universal. In Spain and Latin America, Tuesday the 13th is unlucky. In Italy, it's Friday the 17th. The superstition is shaped by culture, not fate. For many, Friday the 13th is now a quirky holiday. Tattoos, movie marathons, and spooky fun. It's a brand, a celebration, or just another day, depending on how you see it. The power is in the story we choose to tell. Some point to real events as proof of the curse. Buckingham Palace was bombed on Friday the 13th, 1940. A plane crashed in the Andes on Friday the 13th, 1972, leading to a harrowing survival story. The stock market has seen crashes on this date. The Costa Concordia disaster began on a Friday the 13th. These stories seem to fit the narrative perfectly, but tragedies happen every day. We notice them more on this date because we're looking for them. There's no evidence that Friday the 13th is more dangerous than any other day. The curse lives in our perception, not in the calendar. So, is Friday the 13th truly cursed or just a story we tell? The date itself has no power, but our belief in it does. The superstition is a testament to our need for stories to explain the unknown. Today, it's more entertainment than terror. A day for jokes, movies, and harmless scares. We've learned to play in the darkness of the myth. Ultimately, Friday the 13th is what we make of it. Its power lies in our minds, not in fate. It reflects our history, psychology, and culture. As long as we keep telling its story, the legend will live on. Friday the 13th remains the world's most famous and most feared date.